Hello all. Welcome back to another episode of the Coulworld podcast. I'm here as always with Mr. True Footy, Jesse.
Thanks, buddy.
How are you?
Ooh. I'm so used to doing that on True Footy. I'm the first one to ask because I normally do the
This is
intro.
my show.
I know, I'm not used to it, buddy. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. For those that are viewing, it is a Sunday afternoon, currently 5 o'clock. So being in beautiful Perth, we get some sunshine till about 7:30. So it's, everyone's winding down, had a good weekend, and we thought it'd be a good time to sit down and, milady, and do a podcast.
It has been a little while since we've done one, just you and me. The last one with young Druzy.
Yes.
So the last one we did it before that was it the lockdown one or is there one in between? I don't know.
No, it sounds about right.
I think so, yeah. I've had a few different styles since then.
Yes.
Shaved head and beard.
Yes.
Clean shaven, medium length hair.
Yes.
Got a little cheeky mullet going at the moment.
Yep.
Really has been a transformation.
Yep.
But it's been good.
And you're happy with the mullet and mo combination?
Yeah, it's coming along. Yeah. There's no style that I prefer to have at the moment.
Yes.
I do get bored easily with my looks, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I get sick of one look, it's out with the old and in with the new.
Yes.
Thinking I could grow a fairly long, dirty mullet.
Yeah.
Kind of like Logan Paul's little style at the moment.
Yeah.
He's kind of got like the frizzy at the front to sort of cover his receding hairline, and then he's got like a dirty mullet at the back. But
For sure.
I think he rocks it.
Yeah. I think mullets are obviously very fashionable right now, and they are fashionable haircuts. I think the moment that a mullet looks shit and just looks straight out bogan is when the top is the same length as the sides. As long as you always have like this sort of like the sort of short through here, but you have something at top and then the length down the back. I think that looks good and that looks really stylish. And we've seen guys in the NFL who have that look and it looks really good.
True.
One of my favourite mullets is Jeff Woodick. Has like a really good mullet. He's obviously a very good looking guy.
Which one's he?
So he's sort of new to YouTube-ish. He used to have a show called Jeff's Barbershop.
Oh, okay.
And he'd bring people in and interview them while he'd give them a haircut.
Yeah.
And he's like a comedian. Really funny dude, but he's like I like his style. I think he's got
I feel like I know who that is. He's been on Joe Rogan, or is that
no. So he was on Logan Paul's podcast, Impulsive, the one before the Ben Askren one.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Speaking of Ben Askren, we will get into that in a little bit. But I think I showed you when you were talking like mullets at the start. I was like, oh, this is the one that I like, and showed you that. But yeah, no, I think mullets are a very cool and trendy thing at the moment, and they can definitely be pulled off and look really stylish.
I generally jump on a trend right as it's about to die, so that means the mullet thing is probably
No,
gonna
I think
end
you're pretty
soon.
safe. I think you're pretty safe. I think it'll stick around for a while.
Hope so.
I think that hairstyles come in and they stay in for a bit. Like for example, back in the day when like the frullet or like the salad was a look, that stayed in for a good amount of years.
There's a little shot for people at home.
Yeah, get a look at that.
Yeah, it's a bit,
No, it's looking good.
It's got to be touched up, but I like it. Yeah, it is amazing because I always do my my market research before I get a haircut.
Right.
And I generally ask like girls usually like, what do you? Oh, anyone really, but girls' votes count twice. Like, what do you think of the style? And it was amazing the young girls where I work between like anywhere between like 20 and 24, like they love mullets right now.
Yeah.
And including like real dirty ones like
Yep.
Lockie Jones. I went on to Lockie Jones from Port Adelaide. He's the young fella that debuted recently, the one that looks like he's about 35.
Yeah.
I went on his Instagram out of curiosity recently, and all these like good looking girls I noticed just like jumped on and followed him, and it's like, you don't follow football. You just love mullets.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's interesting because that's one of the haircuts that I was referring to that I just think is just like not stylish.
I agree. I think he just kind of rocks it because he's a real masculine looking, good looking fella.
Yeah.
So yeah, he can have a dirty style and sort of get away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, who really thinks Dustin Martin's haircut's cool? I think it's lame as fuck, to be honest.
Yeah, it just suits his sort of persona, I suppose.
He's just a good looking dude as well, so he rocks it. But
And he's got that real dangerous look, which I think girls really like the tattoos and the like. He's not very like commercially brand friendly.
Yeah,
he's like just got that roughness that you would never be able to like coach out of him.
it's like he does meth, but in a cool way.
Yeah. He does meth on weekends only.
Yeah, true. Yeah, he's got his shit together.
Meanwhile, he's making like probably $1 million a year. So.
It is kind of wild though when you think like Dustin Martin at the top of his game at the moment, $1 million a year is nothing compared to what elite athletes and other sports are getting.
Yeah.
As we saw today, we just watched the boxing between Jake Paul and Ben Askren, and fair to say Dusty is a far better sort of like in terms of top of his game in his what do you call it, sport, really. Like him making 1 to 2 million a year, maybe with extras, it's not a lot of money, is it?
No, I think the thing with sports especially, which is like when people talk about like the difference between the two genders making different money per sport, like why do the male footballers make so much more money than the female footballers? And I think it all comes back to like how many eyes can you bring to your individual sport at that time that you're playing? So obviously, like when we're talking about the Ben Askren and Jake Paul fight, they would have had 10 times the amount of people that would watch the AFL Grand Final.
Yeah,
maybe even more, maybe more than 10 times. Like,
true.
So yeah, I think that's what it is. So obviously, Jake Paul is nowhere near the athlete that we'll see from like the NBA or the AFL, but obviously with his popularity and clout, he obviously can make a lot of money doing it because he's bringing so many eyes to his individual events.
True. Well, I fucking love the Jake Paul narrative that's going on. So I'm one of those people that you refer to that like don't follow fighting or anything like that, but purely because of what's happened over the last couple of years, pretty much since Joe Weller fought KSI. Like I'm knee deep in it. Admittedly, I'm a nuffy as well. Like I'll just put myself out there and say I don't like know anything about fighting really. But I will watch all of those fights that any YouTuber of that caliber is involved in. And I probably wouldn't watch any other professional big fights or at least pay for it. But it's definitely had that effect on me where I'm like, I was so pumped for today. Yeah.
So much so that I mean, you said it and I said it as well when we were watching the fight. I started getting nervous like as I was coming into it, like. And I used to have that feeling because I was a big Conor McGregor fan, especially when he was like coming through his rise, that sort of 2016 sort of era. And I used to feel the same way about all of his fights as well. I used to get like really into it. So yeah, I'm the same. So I admittedly was like a bit of a Logan Paul fan for a lot of years now. I sort of fell into him when like he was doing those like daily vlogs and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Very like immature, but it was always just like action packed and fun to watch, and like it was just something that I'd watch like late at night in bed about to fall asleep. Like I'd just watch a couple of those and it'd be something funny and like to the point that I started watching them on a daily basis and literally caught up. Like there wasn't any previous ones I could watch. I'd watched all of them, so I was like up to the date.
Wow.
But to go back to the Jake Paul thing, I think I get a bit annoyed when people like trash him and talk so much shit about him, because as we see from like countless other child stars, like going up with all that fame, with all that money is really, really tough. Does get to your head, sorry. And I think like people that want to trash him and talk shit about him, you gotta have some sort of empathy to put yourself in that position, and how would you handle it? And I know myself, my personality, my sort of addictive personality, I've got a very like full on personality that like I would just like go off as well, and I'd think I'm the shit, and I would like So I think for anyone that really wants to trash him, you don't have much empathy, and you must not be able to put yourself in people's shoes and really think like, well, how would I handle that situation? Because like, I've never hated the Paul brothers, even though they've done some shitty things, I'm sure, because I can appreciate like that's a tough life to live.
There's a lot of like casual, I want to say YouTube fan, but like people who are casually aware of Jake Paul and just sort of see his like media demeanor and have this idea of who he is. And to be fair, he probably isn't a real nice guy, but like they sort of cast a sort of passing impression on him and then assume like he's a dickhead. But like you say, when you dig a bit deeper, what he's doing is fucking sick.
Yeah.
Like, would you go as far to say you like Jake Paul, or where do you sit on?
Yeah. I'm fans of their work. Yeah. Him and Logan.
I really like Logan. I would go. It's a weird one with Jake. I find that I equally hate and love him.
Yeah.
Like he's a shit bloke. A lot of it's an act. Like that's what people don't really realize. He's a masterful marketer, and the way that he's and in particular him has sold this fight has been extremely effective. As we saw on the he goes on impulsive, but I've seen him say it otherwise as well, elsewhere as well. Like he's been very calculated with the way he's branded himself for this fight, and his tactic is to get the MMA community to hate him enough to tune in to see him lose, and that's exactly what he's successfully done. Like so many people were invested in this fight because they wanted to see him get his face smashed in. Which the opposite happened. But
I think that's like the best part about the story is that like he's talking, he's doing all stuff, and he's making everyone doubt him. But each time we've seen it at every level that he's gone to, he has like just absolutely smash guys. Like his last 2 fights. So obviously, like other than the YouTube stuff, 'cause I think the Deji one went into like the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken, close to that. And then I think the Gibb one, I believe, went to the 2nd round.
I can't actually remember,
but it might be.
Early,
it could be first, but I want to say 2nd round. And then from then on, people were like, yeah, but like the YouTubers. So then he's like went and got an ex-professional athlete, a basketballer, who is 5'9", but has won 2 slam dunk contests. So that in itself just shows you like this guy. You could not find a more athletic person. If you want to find someone that is like the epitome of athleticism, where every fiber in their body is like fast firing, fast action, powerful stuff, you couldn't do it. So he's gone and got him. Did it in the 1st round. And everyone's like, well, he's not a fighter. So then he's gone on Ben Askren, and he's just like, again, knocked him out in the 1st round. It's the reason why I love the narrative, and it's the same reason why I love Conor McGregor, was because they would talk and like they would say these things and they would get under everyone's skin. But then when it come down to like the bright lights, they would prove it, and you'd be like, to me, that's like there's no better story than that. I like fall in love with characters like that. I fall in love with guys that like are out there having fun, talking shit, like not like happy to like ruffle some feathers, but when it comes down to it, they perform and they show their class on it. Yeah. So big fan of all that.
For sure. And I think with people that like they look back at it retrospectively and say, yeah, Nate Robinson can't fight. But if you look at it contextually, to that point, he'd only fought an Eson Gibb. And so like he hadn't proven himself at all. Like, so he was just as much of a novice at the time. And versing a guy as an actual athlete, that must have been pretty intimidating.
Yep.
But he absolutely slept him. Yep. Like 3 times in the same fight.
Yeah, that should have got stopped way earlier.
yeah, exactly right. I think for me as well, I was just going into today, and it's tough because I do like Ben Askren. I've never really watched MMA, but so I've only really followed him from this. I've watched his Impulsive and some other interviews as well. Just seems like a hell good dude.
Yeah. Super intelligent too.
Sort of guy you'd want your daughter to marry. Like he just seems like a super nice, like low-key alpha, but generally good dude. So I was torn because I generally favour the good guy, like Joe Willer KSI. Like KSI built himself to be the villain, and I was like, I wanted Joe the underdog to win. But today I felt torn, and I was like, I don't want this Jake Paul narrative to end, because if Jake Paul loses to Ben Askren, no way is he going to get a fight with Conor McGregor. KSI fighting him, yeah, that would be pretty cool, but suddenly like it's a lot less interesting because Jake would have thrown himself into the actual fighting ring and fallen up short. And yeah, for me, I just want to see the story continue. So I would have been really flat if he'd lost today.
For sure, yeah.
Against the guy who'd been training boxing for like 12 weeks or something.
Yep.
And clearly went into it out of shape.
Yeah, didn't look good. Yeah, it's funny though, because obviously you'd only been boxing for that short amount of time.
Yeah.
But we are also talking about like a professional fighter, a guy that made millions of dollars fighting in a cage where there's literally like no rules. Obviously there is some rules, but like the general narrative of UFC, you can say like guys get in there and there's no rules. You can kick, punch, you can choke guys out. Like it's a lot more free flowing. So yeah, I just like the way that Jake has done it in progression, in steps. So like he didn't just come out after like beating Anderson and give and be like, any UFC fighter, I'll take him. Yeah. Like he heard the chatter and people were saying like, oh, that he hasn't fought anyone that's like really athletic. So like he strategically went and got like a basketballer, because like that's who he can match, beat him. Yeah. And then from there everyone's saying, well, he hasn't fought a real fighter before. So then he's gone and got a UFC fighter who's a wrestler mainly. And like, I mean, Ben Askren's like an Olympic wrestler, very very good. He's
a competitor,
top wrestler, and he's also fought in places in the UFC and other sort of fighting companies where other people are trying to punch him. So it's not like he was just like a complete wrestler. Like he's done enough where like he should be able to throw hands.
He's been true, and he's taken plenty of hits as well.
Yeah.
Other than the Masvidal knee, which rendered him
dead.
Right.
Yeah, you write that off.
Yeah, but I mean, in all the other ones that you could possibly recover from, he generally did, right? So he's got a pretty strong chin on him.
I mean, he got absolutely rocked by a guy called Robbie Lawler, who's like a UFC great, and that's something that like people always go back to. Like before the fight happened, they were like, if Robbie Lawler couldn't knock him out, there's no way Jake Paul can knock him out.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward to post fight, Jake Paul probably like, obviously in boxing there's like you throw punches, but like there's only a few punches that you throw with proper intent.
Yeah.
And I reckon Jake Paul threw maybe like 4 or 5 punches with intent. It was the 5th one or 6th one,
Yeah.
close to that number, that just slept him.
Yeah.
Fell on his face. Face down, ass up, like ready to get fucked. Like he was just, he made him his bitch.
He really did.
Yep.
Yeah. A True Geordie called it perfectly, hey, because he and to be fair to True Geordie, he's called like every one of these fights correctly. Like with the Nissan Gib, that again they were completely unknown. Like he had just fought Deji Jake Paul and beaten him fairly easily. And Deji's like half his size, so it's not even a real thing to be proud of, to be honest. But Nissan Gib was like touted to be one of like KSI's sparring partner. And,
well, and he also fought in that same Deji fight. He fought in the undercard and beat some dude.
Yeah. So hindsight would show that he's a shithouse fighter.
Yeah.
But at the time, he like had some respect with him, and I completely forgot where I was going with this. Fuck.
Something that True Geordie pointed out.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you. No, so prior to that fight, all the guys around him, admittedly, some of them were like pro-UK, so they were like, no, Gibbs got this, he's going to clap him. And then True Geordie was like, no, I can't see it going any other way, Jake's going to annihilate him, and he did. And then he did the exact same thing for this fight. So, and True Geordie doesn't really... He probably pays respect to Jake, because Jake's done him a few favours by jumping on the pod and stuff like that, but for the most part, like, he's got no real connection to him. It's not like they're mates.
There's no real ties, yeah.
And he was very, very confident that this fight was going to go exactly the way it did, which is pretty dope.
Another point that True Geordie made post-fight was, he said, because you know how Logan is gearing up to fight Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah.
True Geordie sort of pointed that, and he said, it's hard to imagine Floyd Mayweather going for Logan, who lost his last fight, hasn't got really any relevance in the fighting community. Whereas you got Jake Paul, who's fighting regularly, fighting real guys, just fought a UFC fighter and knocked him out in the first round.
Yeah.
How many people would watch Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather versus Jake Paul versus Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah. Why not both?
Yeah.
.jpeg.
Just a three-way in the ring. Just
I just meant one after the other. I think that would still be massive.
Yeah, that would. But it is a good point. And if you're talking about fighters and you're talking about the Paul brothers, you got to give Jake the cap. You got to say, like, well,
100%.
out of these two brothers, you're definitely the fighter.
Yeah.
I'd put Logan in that podcast realm where he's really good at that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight, because I think if you want to like get a proper fight, you put Jake in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think the difference, well, maybe not even the difference. I was going to say the difference with Logan is like, in theory, he should have more power behind him than Jake. In theory, because he's a bigger dude. Like, I'd imagine, or we were talking about this like during the fight, Jake's low key thick. Like, he's actually fucking heavy. Like, he's considerably shorter than me, about 12 kilos heavier than me. And, you know, probably about the same level of body fat, probably less. I didn't really get a good look. But, he has got some meat behind him. But I would say that at their full genetic potential, Logan is bigger. For sure. And, you know, they're both fucking huge dudes.
Yeah.
So, in theory, Logan has the bigger size advantage in that fight, which is the only real avenue he would have to beat in Floyd.
Yeah.
So, he'd have to somehow be the first man to knock him out.
Yeah.
So that's like where Logan would have a small chance of beating Floyd. I don't think he's ever going to go the distance with him and win on points. But then again, like if Jake can strike the way he can, and he probably hits harder than Logan in terms of like his timing and power. You'd think he'd put up more of a fight.
Yeah,
I would like to see both.
Yeah,
I'd almost feel like Floyd would. I don't want to say a step backwards. It definitely wouldn't be a step backwards for Jake, but the way he's going, like he has the chance to sort of move into like the real professional realm. He's kind of on the outskirts of it now. He's fighting guys at his level and annihilating them. With Floyd, it's an exhibition match that he's almost guaranteed to lose.
It's like a novelty fight.
Exactly, right. So that's why it's probably more suited to a Logan who's not going to really pursue fighting, I don't think. Whereas if, you know, Jake gets in the ring with a Dylan Dennis and then maybe a Conor McGregor, a KSI, then that's probably like, I mean, he's a chance to win those. I don't know if he'd beat Conor McGregor.
That's a tough one, because Conor's known for the hands, so that's a...
Yeah. The same thing with Conor is the size differential. So do you know how tall Conor is off the top of your head?
Yeah, 5'9".
5'9", okay. So we're talking...
got very long arms though, so I don't know how what the reach is between them.
The reach around.
But I know Conor's height is 5'9", he's a tiny bit shorter than me.
So 3 inches, probably would have to bulk up considerably for the fight, I'd imagine. Do you reckon?
Connor?
Yeah.
I dare say he's walking around with a pretty heavy weight these days.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, real thick boy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got his own fight coming up, right, in June?
Connor?
Yeah, he's fighting Poirier again.
3?
It got announced, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think it's June. If it's not June, it's July, but it's definitely happening.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, I mean, he's going to be in some decent shape there. But
Yeah.
I guess, like, what would you want to see next for Jake Paul, if you could choose?
Yeah, it's a good one. So, obviously, coming into this, I would have liked to see the Dylan Dennis fight because they're both like younger guys. Dylan Dennis has a bit of an online presence as well.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about Dylan Dennis because I don't know much about him and maybe the people listening don't.
Right, so Dylan Dennis is I want to say Bellator fighter, so not UFC but in another organisation.
Right.
So he sort of shot up to fame when he became Conor McGregor's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach for the Khabib fight.
Right.
So Dylan Dennis is like a world-renowned, very, very good, like dare say top 10 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters in the world.
Is he like 27?
24?
24.
Yeah, young guy.
Wow.
24, maybe 25.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll call it mid-20s.
Yeah.
And yeah, but at the moment hasn't fought in 2 years. I think his last fight was like early 2019. Just went through a knee reconstruction.
Nice.
And yeah, just like, is a young dude, so I think someone talks some shit, whether it be Jake or Dylan first, and then being the young internet kids that they are, growing from that generation, they just started this like internet like beef and just sort of like, I guess, chipping each other. And yeah, Dylan has not been active, has not done much. Apparently Jake Paul offered him the fight and he had no interest, couldn't do it, didn't want to do it, although they've talked a lot of shit to each other before. And then the second was then Jake obviously offered Conor McGregor, which was a long shot, never going to happen.
Yeah.
And then he went to Ben Askren and offered Ben Askren, and Ben Askren took it.
Yeah.
But sorry, I just want to double back to a point that you made before.
Yep.
Which was, I guess, the difference between Jake and Logan Paul.
Sure.
And saying that, like, in theory, Logan is bigger and stronger and should, in theory, be a better fighter. He's taller, like his body type is maybe a little bit more lean and powerful, so maybe he could fight at a lower weight class while still having power, where Jake is obviously thick at the moment, so for the level that he needs to fight other thick guys. I think the biggest difference, and I think it was like the evidence was the KSI fight, is Logan just does not have that fighter mentality in him.
Killer instinct.
He was shit scared of getting a punch from KSI.
Yeah.
The whole fight with KSI, which was a 5-round fight, he threw 2 right hands.
Wow.
He was so scared to put himself out that he just could only do this.
Yeah.
And you see Jake fight, and he gives no fucks. Like I remember in the fight that just happened, the Ben Askren Jake Paul fight. Ben Askren like clipped him, so he got like a little punch up the top of the head, which is super dangerous because if you get clipped in that temple region, you just get put out.
Yeah. And
I sort of watched it and I was like, oh, that's interesting, because it was in like the first couple of exchanges. And I was like, I want to see what Jake does next. If he just got hit and it sort of half rocked him, and he's thinking like, oh, like it starts to get a bit more conservative. But he was straight back into it, and he was throwing he throws mean punches, and like he's like throwing both hands, and he's getting in, and like it's just like I think that's the main difference between them, is like Logan just like is too scared of getting hit, hasn't got that fighter mentality, where Jake seems to enjoy it. He likes hurting people, and he's not afraid of like getting a hit back. I think he believes that he can take some hits because he will put himself in danger because he thinks that his punch will hurt you more than you can hurt him.
Definitely. And while we're on that, I'd say Jake Paul's ascension to be a badass motherfucker has shocked me. I probably started tuning into this around the time when Joe was fighting KSI, and that was when Jake was sort of picking on Deji. Deji was like, why don't you fight my brother KSI? And he's like, no, I'll fight you. And I just like, again, it's a lesson in like what you see online versus what they must be like in person. There's like a separation there, because Jake Paul looked like a little bitch to me. I genuinely thought he was a pussy. Not the most masculine guy back then. He spoke with a very mild lisp. Not that really means anything, but just like, he just seemed a bit non-athletic, which went that completely wrong. And I remember thinking Deji's probably going to make a fight of this, and Deji's like 4 foot nothing. So to see his ascension to being way tougher mentally, it seems, than Logan, and have that sort of reptilian mindset, as True Geordie calls it, and other people. It's shocked me, and I wouldn't say I like him, but I am fascinated by him, and he is extremely entertaining. I never liked Conor McGregor because I was a very casual fan and didn't really understand why he was entertaining. I just thought he was a dick.
Yeah.
Now that I'm more into it, I'm like, I love watching Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Like, he is fascinating me.
Yeah.
And but by the way, little, not exclusive, but hot off the presses, Dylan Dennis put up an Insta saying, "Fuck this, I'm taking the contract, I'm going to do this fight now, I'm going to fuck this cunt up."
Good.
He posted that since the fight.
Oh,
so
really?
he's keen for it. Jake's in his post press conference, he's had a shit 10 days. He got accused of sexual assault or whatever it was.
His security guard just died.
Exactly. So he looked like a man. He's like, I need a break. Like, I'm going to enjoy life for a bit. So not sure on timeline, but it'd be cool for me. Like, I definitely want the McGregor fight. Maybe not next, because he'll lose, you'd think, right now.
And Conor's obviously is tied up with the UFC as well, so
he's got. You could see it happening down the track
Yes.
when there's money to be made for Conor, like one last bang or whatever.
Yep.
But
let me bang, bro.
I would love to see, in addition to a Dylan Dennis fight, I want to see KSI get in the ring with him, because
I don't think he would ever do it.
See, I agree, but True Geordie apparently said on his... Well, apparently I watched it. He said on his stream that KSI is training again and seriously training. So I think he's low-key getting himself back into shape.
I'm keen for it. I just think it would end very bad. I think KSI will get knocked out in the first round, like all these other guys have.
And I don't like KSI, and maybe there's a double standard there because KSI is equally as entertaining.
Yeah.
But I didn't like him because he was the villain in the Joe Weller thing, and I even thought he was a villain versus Logan, to be honest. I thought Logan was a lot more dignified in the way he went about things. KSI went at him a lot harder and, wasn't afraid to get personal. I've probably changed my view on it over time because I respect that sort of mind game, and I think KSI is super talented at that shit. But KSI is a warrior as well, though, and he's not a great boxer, but he's a tough motherfucker.
Yes. Yeah.
And to beat Logan, who's way bigger than him, away from home, that shows an extreme mental toughness. And I reckon if he invests himself in this fight, it's gonna be entertaining. I mean, I'm sure Jake could win, but that's the fight I want to see.
The one thing I will say about that is that KSI trained boxing for a number of years, and I never saw any real technical improvement from him in boxing. Whereas Jake is you watch Jake's fight and he looks like a real boxer. Like, he throws real punches, throws them with a lot of heat. When he hits a guy properly, a guy that even is a world-class fighter that has taken big shots before, he seems to put him down, and it seems to really fucking hurt him. KSI has still got that really wild technique. There's a lot of overhands. I don't even know if he hits people with this. I think he open hands, palms them in the head. Yeah. And I just think if Jake is training, I mean, no one knows behind the scenes, right? But if Jake is training with the guys that I think he is training with by what he looks like, and is sparring the guys that I believe he would at his level, I think if he come to someone like KSI, and he's got a smart coach as well, so he's not going to they're not on the lead up, they're not going to they're going to mimic KSI's fighting style. And I think his technique and power, but mainly the technique difference between the two, I think it will just shine through, and I think Jake will make an absolute mess of him.
You'd have to think, there's a huge skill gap between them now.
Yes.
So it is hard to imagine KSI...
An exposure difference. Sorry to cut you off, but massive exposure difference. So KSI, name the people that he's fought, right? Joe Weller and Logan.
Yeah.
Jake is now going to fight an ex-NBA player and now a professional, ex-professional fighter.
Yeah.
That's another huge difference. But sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, it is hard to imagine that. The only thing that works for KSI is just that he's a fucking tough dude.
Yep.
And he's a warrior, like I said. So, it is hard to imagine KSI getting knocked out. I know Jake's probably hits harder than Logan, but he just seems that sort of guy that it's hard to bring down. But that's a long way the difference between that and actually winning a bout. And is there much for KSI to go into this fight, because he's probably going to be the underdog?
Yep.
And if he loses, there's going to be a lot of you can't imagine him taking an honourable loss. Do you know what I mean? There's too much beef there.
Sure.
They kind of hate each other. So it's
sure.
Why get in the ring with someone if you're, even for a payday like that, when you're KSI and you can only blemish your record? So, but I would love to see it happen.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
I think though, because and I know it's like all hype and it's all selling the fight, but a lot of talk previously that we saw from like these YouTube fights when they first started kicking off was guys would mention that like if you lose, your career's over. Like I will end your career's going to end. Like you're going to be a meme, you're going to be this, going to be that. But I think Logan losing and his career never taking a dip down, like everyone, like, or not everyone, but his fans still watch his podcast. It's not like he lost and all his fans are like, oh, well, now I'm going to watch KSI all the time. Like, he still does great numbers on his podcast. He's still super popular. So I think the one thing that KSI could at least lean on is, if I lose, like, it's not going to ruin my career. I can really just take a punt on this and win or lose, my life will still stay the same. I'm not, like, the internet's not going to completely trash me and I'm not going to, like, just lose everything.
Yeah, it's definitely a myth perpetuated by the YouTubers in the pre-hype build-up. The same thing they were saying, that this is going to end you, Askren. He's like, I'm going to go back to training on Monday with my wrestling academy. I don't give a fuck. And he's dead right. Like, it doesn't. It is, I'm sure he would have liked it not to have been such an embarrassing loss, because there's no way it wasn't an embarrassing loss, but overall, like, life goes on. So.
Yes, for sure. But super interesting stuff. Love to see it. I'm all for it. I can't wait for the next one, to be honest.
Yeah, after the Nate Robinson fight, I was like, God, I can't wait till the next one, and then we got like a minute fight of the $40 pay-per-view.
That's another thing as well, is we've seen KSI in long fights where he always, like, he has a way where, like, he's, for like this weird fat gamer, and then he's gotten fit. He's got this incredible gas tank. I don't know where it comes from, but like his cardio was like incredible. He took Logan out to deep waters and just basically drowned him in his win against him. Like those last rounds, Logan was like absolutely gassed. KSI still was like a lot of pressure putting on him. I just whistled when I did that. So like the old guy off Family Guy.
Come on, Jesse.
But we haven't seen that from Jake, right? So Jake hasn't been in those fights yet because he keeps fucking knocking dudes out. So like that's probably the one thing that I would like.
The stamina.
I would put a point on the KSI side. It was like I want to give KSI the tick in the cardio section, and so like I think he might have better cardio. Because sparring is sparring. You're never really throwing full punches in sparring, so it's a whole different story.
And just like when you're having an adrenaline dump, so to speak.
I just did one before.
Heart was racing.
Toilet sweats.
The porcelain sweat. No, but when that happens, you just run out of gas 10 times faster.
Yes.
So it's always a bit different, but yeah. Speaking of life going on, Dylan.
I'm not looking forward to this.
Seamless segue. Congratulations on joining me on this side of the hill. You've turned 27 since the last podcast. How you feeling?
So my birthday was Wednesday. Look, the older you get, the more you realise that like you never really change. You don't wake up the day of your birthday or like, say I'm born at like 8:30 in the morning. At 8:31... it's not like this, I'm just like a completely different person. I'm just like, what was that? You're like, it's just it's the same stuff, right? It's the same me, I'm still doing it. It's just, the you get to an age where like saying your age starts to come a bit like, like saying 20, how old are you? I'm 27.
What are you doing at Metro, homie?
Not exactly that, but it's just the perceived.
Definitely.
I don't know what it is, but it's like there's a perception behind it where, you just seem old. It's just like you're like 30s is like right behind me, chasing me down, and I'm not gaining any length from this. Like it is getting closer to it's going to absolutely clap my cheeks.
Very true. Yeah, I've been 27 for a few months now, and it feels like a big jump from 26 in terms of how old it sounds.
Yes.
So like, I work with a lot of people younger than me, so I'm more conscious of it. I think if I was surrounded by 30-year-olds in my friendship group, I'd feel like the young one. So, but because I'm working with 19 to 24-year-olds, now that I'd say that I'm 27, they're like, what you hanging out with us for? I don't know why all my friends are a black guy. But yeah, no.
What are you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, no, it is different. It is different.
Yeah.
Do you fear aging?
I do, yeah. Not keen for it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like, it's a weird little period that we're in. because you're so used to just being young, and you know nothing else, and you're so used to like not having any health problems. Not that I do, as of I'm 27, but you're so used to like taking all those things for granted.
Yeah.
And then now you get to the stage you're like, okay, like this is a thing. It definitely is going to happen. Can't stop it. Can't, like, you know, when you're younger, you don't even think about it. It starts to enter your mind, and then the idea of time becomes like marginally more precious. So like you appreciate time and you appreciate current moments more than you did when you were younger, because you're just like flying through life and not really taking any time to really like understand pivotal moments that you're going to look back on and laugh at with your friends or things like that.
Yeah.
So I have noticed that my perception of time and special moments with special people, like I value those way more now.
Interesting.
Because I realize how fleeting this all is.
Very true.
So I think that's the biggest thing.
You sound so wise.
27,
I'd
all
say
right.
beyond your years, but nope.
No, there actually is one guy at my work who I want to say he's like 22.
Yeah.
And he found out it was my birthday and he's like, how old you are? How old you are? He speaks better English than that. He asked how old am I turning?
Puerto Rican.
He asked how old I'm turning and I said like, yeah, 27. And he was like, damn, I forget how old you are.
Yeah, it sucks, hey?
Yeah.
The one thing I hate is when you make a reference to a show or a song and the kids are like, what? What? That ain't some Addison Rae shit.
Who do you work with?
I don't know. His name's Jamal. It's always the same guy I talk to. Nah, they're just, like, even talking to Drew's, he's 19, turning 20 soon, but I referenced, what show? Cheers. No, Frasier. You remember Frasier?
No.
Okay, that makes me feel a little... Does it make me feel better or worse? I don't know. But, yeah, no, I just make references.
Where did you watch? Where was it?
It was like...
I mean, were you in, like, WA when you were watching this show?
Yeah.
Like,
So
okay.
this was like early 2000s.
Right. I'm sure if you brought it up, I'd probably remember it, but it wasn't one of my favourites growing
Okay.
up. So.
All right. That's just a random example. But no, I make references to shows and songs or actors that people just don't know all the time.
Right.
Like, I'm my sisters. Because my sisters are like 8 years older than me, so I can see them go through this phase, and now it's happening to me, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not relevant.
Sure.
I must keep going to metros to feel young again. But yeah, no, I fear it. I fear aging a little bit. I think it's just me personally, but maybe you can relate. You start to assess where you are in life constantly.
Yep.
Do you find that?
Yeah.
You're like, I think part of it as well might be a post-uni thing as much as it is an age thing.
Yes.
Because while you're at uni, and I did uni until I was 25, so like it happened a bit later, and I think you were similar, 24?
Yeah. Around that.
So a little bit later, kind of. So while you're at uni, you don't really question where you're at because you're like, I know what I'm doing. Like once I get this degree, everything's going to change. But
Yep.
I've been graduated for like 2 years nearly now. So the pressure to be like, am I moving in the right direction or am I stagnant?
Mm-hmm.
That is just ever present. And I don't know, it would be different if I was 21 and graduated or 27 and graduated. But that's probably like a direct sort of effect aging has had on me a little bit. I'm being a little bit melodramatic because we're still quite young. But
Yes.
it is a mindset change for sure.
So I obviously don't have that feeling much anymore. So when I graduated and I was looking for my graduate job, I did have that moment. But now that I'm like working with my degree, I'm working towards getting my license and doing things like that. I don't have that because I'm back in that mindset that when I'm at uni, like I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm heading, I know what track I'm on, I know how long it's going to take me.
Yeah.
There's like the end goal or like the finish line for my current goal is very realistic. It's very there. So I don't have that much anymore.
Fair enough. It's probably to do with the fact that I'm trying to make a career on YouTube.
Sure, yeah.
So there's a lot more self-doubt around whether you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, it's a little more linear. You can see what the next
Yeah.
step is. I have no idea what the next step is for me. So that's probably part of it as well. But
Yeah. And I'm sure if you were employed by YouTube right now on like a graduate program to become like their next greatest content creator, you would feel very secure with it.
Good point.
So obviously like, YouTube is like a much harder industry to navigate.
Yeah, I suppose. But I mean, even just broadly things like nowhere near married. Not that I want to be, but and then like, do I have enough savings for someone my age?
Yeah.
Is my car good enough? Probably isn't. As my dad constantly reminds me, I drive a shitbox. But I'm not very materialistic, which is probably a good thing. But yeah. Anyway, just things like that. I start to think about more. Do you think about that sort of stuff? Maybe it's just a personal thing.
No, I definitely do. I think I'm a lot more chill on myself as of late, and I think mainly because I don't make a lot of money, and that's because I'm obviously in a graduate role.
Yeah.
So once I finish that graduate position and I move into the next phase,
True.
I will obviously make a lot more money. So I think like my mum always said, because this was something that I was like worried about going into it, I was like telling my mum like. And I was sort of like working on a budget and doing all this stuff and trying to make sure that there was money at least going into like a different savings account, which I don't touch, all this kind of stuff. And my mum just said like, honestly, don't even worry about the next 2 years. Like, don't even worry. Like, enjoy your life, spend your check. Like, it's not going to matter because like, you're not making enough money to really do anything with it anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Just live well, enjoy it, and get through this 2 years. And you'll be much happier doing that than if you like, just stripped yourself, you didn't go out, you didn't socialize because you're too worried about money. Like money will come like yeah, and I think it's the perception of like how old we are and what we should have together versus like, I mean, you give me another 20 years, which is a long time, and I'm only 47. So at 47, what would you expect from someone? Like, do you expect someone to be retired at 47? Like, I don't. Like, you're still going to be working. You're probably, if anything, going to be in, like, your peak grind.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be making the most money that you will at any time through your life.
Yeah.
So I sort of look at it in that way and think, like, the money situation and all that will come. I don't worry too much about that. It's more just like, yeah, at this stage, enjoying it, enjoying my time, enjoying my life, enjoying work, and taking it for what it is. I'm a graduate on a graduate's wage. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to be buying anything extravagant. I'm not going to be doing anything crazy with my money. It's just paying me to live, basically.
Yeah, okay. I think that's probably really good advice for people our age or younger going into it. Yeah, it's probably something not worth stressing about too much. What about like the physical side of aging? Do you how do you feel about that? Because scares me so much. Yeah,
I'm not keen, not ready for that.
Yeah.
But then again, it's all like in the moment. It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
Because you see guys that are like 30, 40, and it's just a different look that you need to adopt. So there's the look of being youthful, which is like everyone wants it, like it's the best thing ever. And then you sort of get to our age and you do start seeing those slight signs of aging. You see it sort of like passing by and yeah, the things that like you'd expect from someone older, but you're like, oh fuck, but I am old, so this is me now.
Vicious cycle.
Yeah. But then it's again, I think it's just like this weird little transition period that we're in before we enter that next phase, and then I think I will be a good looking old dude. I think I'll be a good looking 30-year-old. I think I'll be a good looking 40-year-old. As long as you do all the right things, which is get good sleep, eat good food, and keep active and keep healthy and work out and do all those good things, I think it will be fine. It's just the transition period of like adopting a new look. You're not a youthful young person anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
You're starting to transition into that next one and being okay with that. And if you're not, then doing things about it that make you feel better.
Yeah, that's it. I don't think it's affecting me too much at the moment. It's kind of a blessing, but it was kind of a curse when I was younger, whereas I looked like 4 years younger than I was. So like when I was like 19, most people thought I was still, in high school. And even when I was 22 at Bunnings once, I was 22 and someone was like, oh, how come you're at work today? It's a school day. Like, come on, man. I'm 22.
Yeah.
I didn't think I looked that young, but anyway. But now that's kind of followed on a little bit. At 27, most people don't think I look 27, which is kind of a good thing. I do have a few greys in here somewhere, deep embedded in the old noggin, but in the old scalp there. So, but that doesn't really faze me too much. I'll probably use some like shampoo. There's like shampoo to get rid of grey hair or cover them up.
Yeah.
So,
a little bit of dye in there.
much. Yeah, but the thought of it does kind of scare me. Like, I mean, I got ID'd like 3 times in the last month, and when I say ID'd, I mean at the footy. Who's been ID'd at the footy?
No one.
Like, very rarely.
Yeah.
The guy who ID'd me was like 5 years younger than me, I reckon. And then a couple times at the bottle shop. And I'm just like, I'm like 10 years older than you.
Yeah.
Not 10, but
you probably just look like, one of those like 18, 17-year-olds that look like they're really mature, but they're not.
It's the mustache and mullet style. That's what it is. It's very in with like the post-teen youths, as they say. But anyway, yeah. So all good stuff to look forward to. But 27 is still pretty young.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. A lot of people say that I don't look 27. I definitely didn't. I wasn't as extreme as you, so I always looked younger than what I was, but it wasn't as extreme. I maybe copped like the 2 years difference.
Yeah.
So when I was like 20, people thought I was 18. When I sort of got to those like 20 to 25, like people always just thought I was like 2 years younger, and now people sort of say like, oh, I reckon you'd be about 25.
Yeah. I can't tell with you. I think when you're really close friends with someone, you just lose sight of what they look like.
For sure.
So I know that you're 27 and I have known your age for the entire eight years we've been friends, so I have no idea how to judge you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
You're probably the same with me.
Yeah. I know exactly how old you are.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, when you meet people, how old they think you are. And like people at work, when it was my birthday and they're like, how old are you turning? 27. And they're like, oh, I didn't know you were that old.
Yeah. I get that bit.
Like, oh, okay. Which isn't a bad thing. It like when the guy at work, who's actually like a pretty decent friend of mine, when he said like, shit, I forget how old you are. It sucks because it's like, yeah, I am old. But then you also realise like...
There's upside to that.
Yeah, so like I'm hanging out with this 22-year-old and he considers me peers with him. Like we're cool. Like he's not like, why is this old dude with us? So like obviously, there is there is an upside to it, and there's also the negative, which like you realise, I am old. But I'm keen for it. Like I'm happy with the things that I've done. I don't think I've really squandered any time of my life, any years. I've ever since I was like 15, I've always actively been doing something, which is like an apprenticeship, uni, graduate programs at work. So yeah, I think
you have said to me a few times that when you were younger and kind of now, this is the time frame of your life you look most forward to. Like your late 20s.
Yeah.
Why is that, do you think? I guess you have more money.
Yeah.
Generally, people are in their physical prime.
Yep.
Those would be factors.
Yep. I mean, given that when I was 18, I thought I'd be more put together at 27.
Yeah.
I think when you're younger, you just like overestimate what those ages are for you.
Yeah.
So now like, I probably look forward more to that like 30 era.
Right.
I think from 30 onwards, I think I'll be really good.
Yeah.
I actually really do look forward to those.
That's cool.
And I don't know. I think I've always like liked and looked forward to hard work. When I think something's like hard work and hard to do, like
a grind.
Yeah, it kind of excites me, and that's like it gives me that real reason to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
So, and I also grew up in a very like loving family, so I'm also keen for that. So I think looking forward to like being like really secure in my work and hustling really hard but making really fucking good money. That excites me.
Yeah.
Also excites me to like have a wife and have children. Not that I'm like ready for it yet, and like I don't want it in the next probably 5 years.
Yeah.
I am keen for that phase because I think that phase is going to bring something completely different out of life. Like if you sat me down and I wrote down what I consider life, like the experiences that I feel, what excites me, is going to be marginally different to like in 5 years time, where it'll probably be like, wow, like I really enjoy going to my son's football game.
Yeah.
It's one of the most beautiful moments. Like
5 years.
hard to do.
You're gonna start acting.
I had a kid like 2 years ago. But like, you know what I mean? Like maybe 5 years is a bit short of a time frame, but like I'm just keen for those sort of things to be important to me.
Cool. Yeah. No, I like it. That's good.
I'm sorry, what was your question that you asked me just then?
What were the things that you look forward to about that age?
Right.
Which I think
so, let me revert that back to you then. Is there a period of life that you're sort of excited for?
Not really, to
No?
be honest. I don't know. I just don't think of it in those terms, I guess. It is sobering sometimes. I think it occurs to me every now and then. I'm like, the man that you thought you were going to be when you grow up, we're there. And it's kind of scary, but also inspiring because it makes me think I need to act. I need to do something proactive, which I feel like I am at the moment. So I don't feel too bad about that. I'm extremely short-term sighted.
Yep.
And I think it serves me well for the most part. I'm just very micro-ambitious with like, so for instance, trying to make a career on YouTube, right? Maybe I should be more forward thinking, but all I'm thinking is the next month of footy, this is how I'm going to structure my videos, get it out there, put together a really solid month, aim for 100,000 views every month. And then hopefully things will trickle down from there.
Yeah.
That's about as far forward as I like to think. And I think I've kind of got to be like that a little bit. It would be nicer to have a clearer image of what will life be like in an ideal within 2 years, because people ask me that, or like 5 years, and I don't have a clear answer. But I think it's never the wrong answer to just put your head down and work hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I think of it now. I've always felt that maybe in my younger years that my late 20s was going to be more of a prime time, as I said, the money thing. And maybe like my physical prime as well, because I was kind of a geeky looking kid from about 14 to 27. Do you know what I mean? I've kind of outgrown the geeky phase now, and just a lot more comfortable in my body and stuff like that. So all that combination, I feel like I'm in my prime years now, to be honest. And it'll be a pleasant surprise, I'm sure, when hopefully in 10 years I have a wife and kids or whatever. And that will bring a whole new meaning to life.
Yeah.
And I'm not into kids or families or marriage at the moment, but I know myself and I know that I will be completely immersed in it once it arrives, and it is something I want eventually. So I just don't know how far off that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the world changes so quickly. So previous generations obviously fell into that life a lot sooner than what we will. So our grandparents obviously got married and had kids when they were like teenagers, basically. Yeah. My mum was really young. She had my older brother when she was 22. Yeah. Which is still like really young even back then. Yeah. But yeah, I think things are like really shifted for our generation. So I don't think those things are expected until a lot later. It's
different for guys though, for sure, because we don't have that prime childbearing years, and that's something to think about. So if we want to be guys that are peaking and finding their families in their mid to late 30s, we're gonna have to be with younger women. Yeah. Oh no. no, but it is something to consider. It's not like that's one thing that will stop society completely going past it, is because whatever it is, 20 to 35, I think 35 to 38 is the sort of, I think 38 is the age for women where it gets a little dicey. Yeah. And I would like to have it happen before that. Yeah, that's it. So that there is that kind of little pressure a little bit, but we're still a long way away from that. So, I think from like 30 onwards, I would be more keen to start looking into it. Not saying that I want a kid like on 30, but like from 30 onwards is when I'd be like, okay, like feel like I'm ready for this. This is like a new decade, and every girl you meet, you might think, is this the one? Yeah, maybe. I definitely don't think about that now. Yeah. If it has become a great relationship, it's just because it's been the right person at the time. Not because I'm like, ooh, let's lock this one in. Oh, really? Well, some people are like that.
I've always been like that.
In what way? Sorry.
The latter. Sorry.
The latter?
What did you...
So I'm contrasting like myself. I've never ever looked for a girlfriend. Every girlfriend I've had, I've met, really liked them, and it's become a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
Versus there are people out there, like you can see on their Tinder profiles or whatever. I don't have Tinder, but I've seen it before, and they're just like looking for a serious relationship from the bat. And I just can't do that. I get anxiety thinking about looking for a relationship.
So I'm a lot like that as well. In terms of, I've only had one girlfriend. So one actual girl that's been like, we've been an official title, boyfriend, girlfriend, like we're in a relationship. But, so I will meet girls and I'll like get to know them and do whatever. But I will never date somebody because like they're the best option of what I have right now. I date them with a long-term mentality of like would I be happy to like... Right. Would I be happy for this to be the end game? Yeah. Would I be happy for this person to be like... If I get in a relationship with them, like, that's it. Like, we end up getting married. Like, is this really the person that I want to do that with? Yeah. And so that's why I've only had one girlfriend, because there was only one girl that did that. Yeah. And the rest I was seeing girls, and then it's got to a point where, you know, things get in the way or there's attributes that we might not like about each other. And then, like, you just call it. And so, like, right, well, let's not take this any further. Let's not get any too serious about this. Like... It was really loving, like, meeting you and getting to know you, but I think this is where our story ends. Yeah. And so that's sort of the mentality that I have.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I'm very selective. I'm very picky. But when I do latch on, it's usually serious. It just doesn't happen that much. So, yeah. Relationship advice. Yeah. Come to Coulworld.
I mean, I've been single for, like 8 years, 7 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Most of the time I've known you. So. Yeah.
So, don't come to me.
If anyone's single out there, what would you say?
So don't come to me with relationships. I actually am pretty good at it. Funny enough, I'm the type of person where I'll give you great advice about your life, but when I have an issue, I have like no answers. I'm just like, this is the worst thing. Like, I'm always good at like, when I'm emotionally removed from the situation, I'll give some banging advice. When I'm submerged in it, I'm just like flustered.
I
and
think
I'm
that's
just
pretty common, to be
Yeah,
fair.
I imagine it would.
Yeah, and that's why it's always good to stop and be like, what advice would I give to a Jesse or a Dylan in this scenario if it was them?
Yeah.
And then you might not like the sound of it, but that's usually
Sometimes it's
the right
what you need to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, true that. Well, I think that's about time.
Yep, I think it's
Great time to wrap it up. Got into the Askren fight. Talked a little about relationships.
It was Askren for it. I really needed to get that in there.
You stole that.
I did steal that. It's not even a good joke.
No, such a dad joke.
All of my jokes are just stolen from somewhere in time, and people just hear it for the first time with me, and they're like, not bad. Sometimes.
Nice. Okay, well, thank you for listening, watching, viewing, and hopefully subscribing.
Smelling. Nice.
Another one. I forgot what number we're up to
I
now.
think it's 12.
Podcast 12. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoy. Give us a like. Give us some comments. I have had people starting to follow me on Instagram and whatnot. So I'm sorry if I haven't accepted yet. I'm actually trying to figure out how I want to play it.
Right.
Because I got
It's your
my
personal account.
Right,
Yeah.
and I've got it set on private, and I'm not trying to get famous, to be honest.
Well, we do have a Coulworld account.
So follow the Coulworld account. We'll always reply to that. We'll always follow you back. Are we doing that?
I haven't opened it for a few months.
Cool.
We suck.
Cool.
But in theory, I will generally follow people.
Yeah. So hit us up on that. Always happy to talk, chat. But really appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. For the Coulworld podcast, that's all for now. So we'll see you in the next one.
Catch you guys. Thank you.
Peace.